Ah, no, my phone just shorted out. Let's ignore what got exposed for a second. Could you put some clothes on first? Hi, everyone. My name is Chen Mo. The girl in front of me is Jiang Xue. She's my new roommate. I heard her family went broke, so she had to come out and work. She was willing to squeeze into one room with me, for one reason only. It was cheap. But ever since she moved in, my life has never been peaceful. It has been pure misery. If I weren't trying to save on rent, there's no way I would have agreed. On her very first day moving in, I tried to be a gentleman and help carry her luggage, but one sentence from her shut me down cold. Did you wash your hands? My hand froze, midair like it had gone numb from a shock. I couldn't move it forward or pull it back. I looked painfully awkward. In the end, I could only step aside and make way for her. I watched her slim frame struggle to drag that huge suitcase inside. I even forgot to introduce myself. From the look of it, she had no interest in knowing me either. The moment she entered, she frowned. I knew exactly what she was reacting to. The room always had this hard-to-describe, stale odor. It took me a long time to get used to it too. You have a key, right? I'm heading out for a bit later. She gave a faint hum through her nose as a reply, without even lifting her eyelids. I didn't feel like dragging out the conversation either, so I stepped out. That day, I went drinking with a buddy. By the time I got home, it was almost 11. Still groggy, I pushed open the bedroom door and froze on the spot. Was this really still my messy little cave? The floor had been scrubbed until it almost reflected people. All the papers I normally tossed around were stacked neatly. I had to admit, having a clean roommate wasn't half bad. I dropped into bed and fell asleep. The next morning, I got up for work and found the desk completely empty. Worst of all, my USB drive was gone. That thing meant a lot to me. Years of ideas were saved on it. So I hurried over to Jiang Xue. Jiang Xue, did you help clean my room yesterday? No need to thank me. I wasn't going to thank you. Did you see the USB drive on my desk? I assumed Jiang Xue had simply put it away for me, but she casually replied, I threw it out. Seriously. That drive had hundreds of gigabytes of files on it. And you just tossed it. Wasn't it just a junky USB drive? I'll buy you another one. What, was it full of questionable downloads or something? That was the last straw for me. Today, we were setting clear rules. Private space and shared areas had to be clearly separated. We argued for a full 10 minutes. At last, we reached an agreement. The living room, bathroom, and kitchen were shared. The bedroom was private territory. The balcony belonged to her. That counted as her personal space because she needed somewhere to hang delicate clothing and felt awkward letting me see it. My room faced south, so it actually got plenty of sunlight. In my room, even those clothes would dry quickly. Her side barely got any sun at all. As compensation, she agreed to cover the water and electricity bills. After laying down the rules, she turned and went back to her room. Before long, I heard soft crying from inside, and it only got louder. I rubbed my nose, confused. I hadn't exactly treated her badly, had I? Besides, I barely used water or electricity, so I wasn't making her pay much more. Saturday morning, I was in the middle of fixing my eyebrows when there was a loud bang. I mean, what in the? I jolted upright in bed, only to meet Jiang Xue's panicked face. Could you knock before coming in next time? Why don't you lock your door? Does this flimsy door look like it even has a lock? It's fine. I just came to borrow 2 hangers. What are you doing in here? Working on some secret little project? Good grief, I'm a grown man over 6 feet tall, and that one joke still made my face burn. She took the 2 hangers, then the corners of her lips lifted again. Oh wow. Such cute cartoon underwear. Seriously. Do you have nothing better to do? Want me to buy you a couple more pairs? From the slightly messy way, she hurried off. I could tell. She wasn't nearly as calm as she acted. Sharing a place takes adjustment, right? There's always a period of getting used to each other. What I had imagined that process to be was both people learning where the other's boundaries were. If you don't cross them, you're a decent roommate. She wasn't. She knew exactly where my boundaries were. Yet she kept hopping back and forth across the line. For example, she would still pop into my room like a cat. Whenever she felt like it, she'd suddenly barge into the bathroom while I was washing up. And once she realized I was inside, she'd let out a shriek loud enough to rival an air raid siren. I never understood what she was screaming about. On top of that, she had almost no common sense about daily life. Once her clothes went into the washing machine, the rest was pure guesswork. She couldn't cook, yet insisted on experimenting by herself, and nearly turned the whole place into a disaster. Every time, I had to grumble while teaching her step by step. The only comforting part was that she learned pretty quickly. The second time she cooked, she already knew you shouldn't pour water on a pan fire, so she poured laundry detergent on it instead. July 16 was her birthday. How did I know? Because that day, she sat on the living room sofa like a possessed cat, muttering, "It's my birthday today. Don't work overtime. It's my birthday today, so definitely don't work overtime." My sleep is usually pretty solid, but even I couldn't handle her chant-like muttering. Just as I was holding back the urge to remind her, she had already gone out. She left in an unusual rush that day. Her bedroom door was left open. I didn't go in. I only glanced from the doorway and saw a takeout box on her desk. There was still half a steamed bun inside, a little less than half a bowl of porridge, and 2 tiny boxes of vegetables. That had been her dinner the night before. For some reason, I turned around and went downstairs to buy groceries. I timed it to when she'd get off work that evening. While cooking, I kept scolding myself for being ridiculous. By the time she opened the door and came in, 4 dishes and a soup were already laid out on the living room table, with a 4-inch cake beside them. She froze on the spot. "What, do you have friends coming over tonight?" "Some fool has a birthday today." "How did you know it was my birthday?" "Honestly, if you'd muttered just a little louder this morning, the entire building would have known. I didn't realize that even though you look a little unruly, you actually have a pretty good heart. This is the first birthday anyone has celebrated for me since my dad passed away. You little lady. You're pretty. You've got a nice figure. And you're perfectly fine overall. You just had to come with that mouth." After the birthday dinner, she didn't go back to her room. She simply rested her head on my lap and fell asleep. As for me, I didn't sleep all night. Not because I had any improper thoughts, but because my leg went completely numb. After that day, the ice between us finally broke. We could curl up on the sofa, together eating snacks and watching TV. Maybe she liked that I was easygoing with her. As for me, I was simply taken in by her looks. One day, she was showering in the bathroom, while I was shoveling food into my mouth in the living room. Suddenly, a panicked cry came from inside. "Ah, it's hot." The water heater shocked me. Jiang Xue rushed out with hardly anything on. Honestly, my brain stalled on the spot. I was completely frozen for 3 full seconds. Let's ignore what got exposed for a second. Could you go put some clothes on first? After that accident, she became too embarrassed to face me properly and kept avoiding me. About 3 months later, I don't know if it was stomach trouble or what, but it felt like a drill was twisting in my gut. At first, I thought I could just tough it out. Then it started feeling more and more wrong. Just as I struggled to get myself to the hospital, Jiang Xue suddenly rushed over, cupped my face in both hands, and her hands were cold and trembling. By then, I was hurting so much, I could barely form a complete sentence. Without another word, she put on a coat, helped me up, and started taking me downstairs. We lived on the 6th floor. I still don't understand how someone with a small frame managed to half carry me all the way down. She wanted to call a cab, but she'd forgotten her phone, so she half-supported, half-dragged me through the night until she got me into the emergency room. By the time the Roman 4 was done, and I felt better, the sun was almost up. The doctor said it was a stomach spasm. Nothing serious. Thank you. Get some sleep. You'll need to get up for work soon. It's fine. I took the day off. A few days later, I had fully recovered. To thank her, I rolled up my sleeves and spent the whole afternoon cooking. Jiang Xue praised the food while eating. This is so good. Could you cook for me for the rest of my life? HMPH. I got carried away in that instant. I nodded, and only after seeing how brightly she smiled did I realize I had overthought it. When she said cook for me for the rest of my life, she meant it literally. After that, she stopped ordering takeout for dinner. Every day, she clung to me and asked me to cook, saying it saved money and was healthier. I complained that it was a hassle, but whenever I thought about how she had carried me to the hospital back then, with that reckless determination, my hands moved even faster at the stove. But today felt a little unusual. The dishes were already set out, yet after 5 minutes, she still hadn't come to eat. I pushed open her bedroom door and looked inside, only to find her lying on the bed, crying into the mattress. What's wrong? Did someone give you a hard time? Just tell me if something happened. We're friends, aren't we? The situation actually wasn't complicated. Jiang Xue never worked overtime at the company. When it was time to leave, she left. With her emotional intelligence, there was no way she understood that ridiculous so-called company culture. On top of that, she'd taken leave before because of me. So between the lines, management kept hinting that she should adjust herself. I understood exactly what they meant. If they wanted her gone, fine. But she hadn't done anything wrong. So every bit of compensation she was owed had to be paid. That was all it was. Relax. Leave it to me. Jiang Xue's company handled small loans. The next day, I put on a crisp outfit, shaved clean, strapped on that old fake luxury watch, and swaggered into the lobby. Hello, sir. Do you have an appointment? No. Go get your manager out here. Tell him to come see me. Before long, a chubby man in a suit waddled over. He matched the photo I remembered. Perfect. It was him. Hello, sir. What service are you interested in? I need some funding. 2 million. 2 million. Of course, if I only needed 200. Wouldn't I just use a pay later app? That whole day, I kept that slippery manager tied up, talking from business to products, from poetry to philosophy and life itself. When I finally left, I didn't even give him a phone number. The next day, I went back again. I camped out there for a whole week. Eventually, he realized I was just stringing him along. After that, he ignored me whenever I showed up. I work in self-media. I may not have many special skills, but I do know plenty of people. So I posted a request for support on my account. And wow, a whole crowd of justice-minded folks answered the call. Some said they'd bring their wives. Some said they'd bring hammers. Another big guy had only recently gotten out and said he wanted to bring his gear along for some pocket money. All I can say is, this generation of netizens is seriously talented. They speak so nicely too. I genuinely adore them. Within a few days, the chubby manager couldn't hold out anymore. He called me. The moment I picked up, I got straight to the point. You can dismiss an employee, but pay the compensation properly. As long as you follow the formal process, the people causing you trouble will naturally stop coming around. Less than 5 minutes after I hung up, Jiang Xue came running over excitedly and said the boss had agreed to pay. But on the day she officially left, I went with her. When the manager saw my face, he turned as green as a bitter melon. Several salespeople nearby looked like they wanted to rush over. I, on the other hand, waved warmly and greeted them. Jiang Xue stared at me in shock from the side. You're pretty close with them, huh? Very close. We've had plenty of deep conversations. Just like that, Jiang Xue rested at home for a full week. Every day, she slept until she woke up naturally, then got up and ate the food I made. I heard her complain that she'd gained a full 6 pounds that week. Once she'd rested enough, she started sending out resumes, interviewing, and waiting for updates. For a moment, I truly wanted to ask her to do self-media with me. The two of us could stay home together every day. Honestly, that sounded pretty nice. I admit I had selfish reasons. Having a gorgeous woman around the place made my mood better just by looking at her. But all of that was ruined by a phone call. Jiang Xue found a new job. She'd be doing administration in Sifang district, which was about an hour away by subway from my place. That night, we celebrated together. With a little liquid courage, I pretended to ask casually, "So, when are you planning to move out? Need me to help carry anything?" When did I ever say I was moving out? I just figured your new company was too far away. It's not far. That's not what you said before. Your last job added 40 minutes to the commute, and you wanted to move. If anyone gives you trouble again, come find me. I'll have your back. Just then, the landlord suddenly pushed the door open. I'm really sorry, you two. I've sold this apartment. The buyer was in a hurry, so the landlord told us to move out as soon as possible. I froze where I stood, unable to process it for a long while. In the end, I could only turn to Jiang Xue. We can't stay here anymore. Where are you planning to move? To Sifang district, I guess. It'll be closer to work and less trouble. What about you? I'll probably move to the suburbs. Somewhere quieter, cheaper, and better for inspiration. Neither of us brought up continuing to live together. The unspoken understanding was almost frightening. After all, we hadn't known each other that long. From clashing at the beginning, to slowly understanding each other, to standing side by side. Everything had moved too fast. If we'd been given another half year, I would definitely have had the courage to speak from the heart and ask whether she wanted to build a life together. But saying that now would only make me look like I had ulterior motives. Well, how about I go to Sifang district with you and rent another place? We could share again and save a lot of money. A new co-worker at my company already asked to live with me yesterday. On the day she moved out, I helped Jiang Xue carry her luggage. She reached out and brushed dust off my shoulder. Want a hug? Hug my foot. We both have WeChat. No need to get all sentimental. Yet without thinking, I pulled her tightly into my arms. I watched the little moving truck carry her farther and farther away, drifting off with the wind. Was the love of mine that had barely begun to sprout before being cut short. I can't remember how she pulled away from my embrace, and I can't remember how we said goodbye. The moment she hugged me tight, only 4 words filled my mind. Fate plays cruel tricks. In the end, all I could do was wave hard at the empty street. From that day on, our WeChat chat log stopped on September 6. The next day, I moved too. I called over a bunch of friends and spent the whole day in noisy chaos. By the time we finished, night had already fallen. We found a barbecue stall and drank over skewers. That familiar feeling pulled me right back into reality. That small figure seemed to fade a little in my heart. Chen Mo. What happened to that pretty roommate of yours? She moved out. Why didn't you keep renting together? She works in Sifang district now. Why would she keep renting with me? Tell me honestly. Are you still thinking about her? I'm not. Nonsense. If not, why did you rent a 2-bedroom place? Those few words hit me like a hammer and shattered the shell around my thoughts. That's right. If I was living alone, why did I rent a 2-bedroom place? Before my friend pointed it out. I hadn't even realized it myself. I searched for ages and still chose a place that was ridiculously expensive and especially close to Sifang district. Even I couldn't explain it clearly. Maybe, just like my friend said, deep down, I was still waiting for Jiang Xue to come back. Life returned to how it used to be, but some habits truly couldn't be changed. For example, I always cooked too much food, and I still wasn't used to ordering takeout. That lazy streak in me was gone. I cleaned the place regularly. Even though no one lived in the empty bedroom, I kept it spotless. The rain was especially heavy today. Lightning flashed again and again. I was curled up at my computer, working on a supernatural script, wondering whether a ghost under the bed would be scarier or something outside the door. I got so absorbed in thought that I bent down and glanced under the bed. What the? I didn't see anything creepy. Instead, there was something completely unexpected lying there. The USB drive Jiang Xue had lost. How did it end up here? Someone knocked on the door, making me jolt. I opened it, and standing outside was a woman soaked like she'd been caught in a downpour. Are you just going to stare, or are you going to help me? Jiang Xue, what kind of stunt is this? Move. Realtors these days are way too shady. Can I just transfer the rent directly to you? That way we save the agency fee. You've got a pretty special way of welcoming a roommate. Go take a shower already, otherwise you'll catch a cold. The water heater doesn't shock people, right? It doesn't. I've tested it for you plenty of times. By the way, how did you find this place? I asked the realtor. Turns out, we used the same agency. You forgot, HMPH. That guy was pretty nice. Not as shady as you made him sound. That young realtor really was decent. I know, I meant he had a dark complexion. Like really dark. Humming a little tune, Jiang Xue headed off to wash up. I leaned back on the living room sofa. My fingertips still held the coolness of the rainwater from when I hugged her just now. So I got up and went back to the kitchen, reheating the extra food I'd made earlier. Jiang Xue had just finished settling the bedroom, and she was probably hungry again. This girl's appetite. I knew it inside and out. She looked small and slender, but when it came to eating, she never held back. Back when we lived in the old place. Every time I made 4 dishes and a soup, she could eat almost half a bowl more rice than I did. Before long, the guest room door opened. Jiang Xue had changed into a clean light pink set of pajamas. She dropped onto the sofa, stared at the reheated dishes on the dining table, and her eyes brightened. It's actually still hot. I was already really full just now. It just smells too good. I could have a couple more bites. As she spoke, she naturally picked up the chopsticks and started eating. The bedraggled look she had when she arrived in the rain was gone. So was the awkward distance from the time we'd been apart. It was as if those past 2 weeks apart had never existed at all, like she had been living in this home the whole time. I sat across from her, watching the way she ate, and the corners of my mouth rose without me noticing. Didn't you say things were going fine? Sharing with your new coworker. Why did you suddenly move out? And you came all the way here in this heavy rain. Weren't you worried? I'd already made a new friend. Jiang Xue's chopsticks paused. The tips of her ears turned slightly red. That coworker was impossible to live with. She had an absurd number of complaints. On the very first day I moved in, she complained that I showered too long, and that I made too much noise getting up at night. The more she talked, the more wronged she sounded. Her lips pouted higher and higher. She looked exactly the same as she had back in the old place, when a company boss gave her a hard time. By the end, her voice had dropped lower and lower. Her head was bowed low, and she didn't dare look at me, her ears red to the tips. My heart softened. How could I still tease her? I reached out and rubbed her hair. It felt just as soft as before. Come over whenever you want. This place has 2 bedrooms anyway. One would be empty either way. It's livelier with you here. Really. You don't think I'm a bother. You're definitely a bother. You can't cook. You have barely any life skills. And you always mess with my stuff. But since you're pretty, I'll reluctantly take you in. On one condition. First, don't casually walk into my study and move my things. Especially my manuscripts and USB drives. Those are precious to me. Second, I'll handle the cooking. But washing dishes, wiping the table, and taking out the trash are all your jobs. No slacking off. Third, when you shower at night, you have to wait until I check the water heater first. Don't be reckless again, like last time. Something almost went wrong. I heard you. From now on, I'll behave. I absolutely won't touch your things. I'll take care of all the dishes and table cleaning. And I'll definitely wait for you to check before I shower. I promise I won't cause you trouble. She said it with complete confidence, but I knew very well that her promises were only half trustworthy. Give it a few days, and she'd probably be dancing along the edge of my boundaries again. Still, I didn't mind. Compared with a cold, empty home all by myself, I would rather have her stir up a little noise now and then. At least this place felt alive again. After dinner, Jiang Xue obediently cleaned up the dishes, carried them into the kitchen, turned on the faucet, and started washing them. I leaned against the kitchen doorway, watching her. Her movements weren't particularly skilled, but she was very focused, scrubbing each bowl carefully, afraid she might drop one. By the way, how did you know I moved here? Did the realtor really dare give you my new address? I thought he'd at least follow the rules. I spent ages coaxing that young realtor. I even bought him a milk tea. I told him you and I were good friends, and that we just had a small disagreement while sharing a place before. Now I want to make up with you. He softened up and gave it to me. He also said that, when you moved in, you specifically asked whether there was a 2-bedroom place, saying you wanted to leave one room empty. He guessed right then that you were waiting for me. Don't listen to his nonsense. I just thought a 2-bedroom place would feel more spacious. 1 room to sleep in, 1 room as a study. That's more practical. I was not waiting for you. Oh, really? Then back at the old place. Who asked whether I wanted to move to Sifang and share a place again? Who was that? Who was the thick-skinned one who asked first? You're such a little kid. Stop dragging up old stories. Go dry your hair already. Otherwise you'll wake up with a headache and a cold tomorrow. I don't have time to take you to the hospital. That's what I said. But I still turned around, grabbed the hairdryer, plugged it in, and helped dry her hair. Jiang Xue froze for a moment, but then obediently sat on the sofa. I stood behind her. My fingers gently moved through her long hair. The warm air from the dryer blew softly. Strands of hair curled around my fingertips, impossibly soft. The room was very quiet. Only the low hum of the hairdryer remained. At that moment, a thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Last time, you nearly turned the old place into a disaster, and now you still dare try it yourself. Go wait outside. Let me handle it. It'll only take 10 minutes. Jiang Xue obediently stepped back to the kitchen doorway, leaning against the frame as she watched me. She barely blinked. She looked like a little fan, staring in silence. How are you good at everything? You can cook, fix things, and even stand up for me. You're seriously amazing. Her praise made me a little embarrassed, but my hands never stopped moving. I fried 2 eggs, toasted 2 slices of bread, warmed 2 cups of milk, and breakfast was done. Jiang Xue finished washing up and sat down at the dining table, devouring breakfast hungrily. She praised it between bites. This is not just good. It's way too good. How are you this amazing? This is so delicious. It smells even better than breakfast from outside. From now on, can I eat? The breakfast you make every day. Depends on my mood. If I'm busy rushing a manuscript, order takeout yourself. Don't count on me. She lifted her head and smiled at me. Sunlight spilled through the window onto her face, warm and bright enough to make me almost squint. In that moment, I suddenly felt that ordinary, cozy life was probably just like this. 2 people under 1 roof, 3 meals through all 4 seasons, breakfast in the morning, and someone to come home to at dusk. Last time, you nearly turned the old place into a disaster, and now you still dare try it yourself. Go wait outside. Let me handle it. It'll only take 10 minutes. Jiang Xue obediently stepped back to the kitchen doorway, leaning against the frame as she watched me. She barely blinked. She looked like a little fan, staring in silence. How are you good at everything? You can cook, fix things, and even stand up for me. You're seriously amazing. Her praise made me a little embarrassed, but my hands never stopped moving. I fried 2 eggs, toasted 2 slices of bread, warmed 2 cups of milk, and breakfast was done. Jiang Xue finished washing up and sat down at the dining table, devouring breakfast hungrily. She praised it between bites. This is not just good. It's way too good. How are you this amazing? This is so delicious. It smells even better than breakfast from outside. From now on, can I eat? The breakfast you make every day. Depends on my mood. If I'm busy rushing a manuscript, order takeout yourself. Don't count on me. She lifted her head and smiled at me. Sunlight spilled through the window onto her face, warm and bright enough to make me almost squint. In that moment, I suddenly felt that ordinary, cozy life was probably just like this. 2 people under 1 roof, 3 meals through all 4 seasons, breakfast in the morning, and someone to come home to at dusk. Jiang Xu's new job was in administration at a studio, 9 to 6, with the occasional overtime. Every morning, I would finish breakfast 10 minutes early. She would eat, then hurry out the door. When she came home from work at night, I would usually have dinner almost ready. She did keep her word. Every day after eating, she took the initiative to wash dishes, tidy the kitchen, and clean the living room. She still got a little absent-minded now and then, but compared with before, she'd improved a lot. I kept doing supernatural self-media content, staying home every day to write scripts, draw illustrations, and edit videos. Life was regular and plain. When Jiang Xue got off work early, she would sit quietly on the living room sofa, reading or scrolling on her phone, careful not to disturb my work. Sometimes she'd bring me a cup of warm water, but within this peaceful routine, something faint and hard to define slowly began to grow between us, like a thin layer of window paper. Neither of us poked through it, yet both of us could sense something different in the other's eyes. For example, when we sat on the sofa together watching TV at night, she'd unconsciously lean against my shoulder when a scary scene appeared. She'd clutch my arm tightly, curl into my embrace, and tremble all over, while still insisting she wasn't scared at all. She would quietly leave the living room light on for me, warm up a cup of milk, place it beside my desk, and only then return to her room to sleep. On rainy days, I would calculate when she'd get off work in advance and bring an umbrella to meet her at the subway station. She'd hook her arm through mine, step through puddles as we walked, and smile with pure happiness. On weekends, we rarely went out. Most of the time, we stayed home. I worked on my scripts while she tidied the place nearby, or tried learning how to make little snacks. Her success rate wasn't high, but every time she finished, she'd bring them to me first to taste. One Saturday, I was editing videos at home, so busy I lost all sense of time and even forgot to eat lunch. Jiang Xue noticed, but didn't interrupt me. She quietly went to the kitchen and followed an online tutorial, trying to make wontons. When I finally finished and stepped out of the study, I saw a bowl of unevenly wrapped wontons on the dining table. She stood there in an apron, flour dusted across her hands, looking at me expectantly. I stared at those oddly shaped wontons. Some skins had torn, some filling had leaked out, and I couldn't help laughing. I picked up a spoon and tasted one. Surprisingly, it wasn't bad. It just had a bit too much salt, a little salty. Jiang Xue watched me nervously. How is it? How is it? Is it good? Is it terrible? It's all right, just a bit too much salt. Use a little less next time, I said with a smile, then finished the entire bowl. When Jiang Xue saw that I'd eaten it all, she bounced up happily, like a child who had just been praised. That afternoon, we sat on the balcony, soaking up the sun. She leaned back in the chair with her eyes closed. Chen Mo, tell me, do you think what we have counts as being great roommates? Of course. We're not only the best roommates, we're also the best friends. She looked at me with bright eyes, carrying an emotion I couldn't quite read. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she didn't. She only gave a soft mm. I knew what she was thinking. And what I was thinking had long since crossed the line beyond friends and roommates. We were simply waiting for the right moment, waiting until we both had the courage to speak aloud the affection hidden deep in our hearts. Day by day, time passed. The weather gradually grew colder, and late autumn arrived, yet the apartment only felt warmer and warmer every day after work. Opening the door meant smelling dinner in the air, hearing someone beside me speak. Instead of facing that lonely silence alone, I became more and more attached to days like this, and more afraid of losing them. One weekend, in late autumn, a light rain was falling. The weather was grey and chilly. Neither of us felt like going out. We curled up in the living room. I was organizing old materials, while Jiang Xue sat on the sofa, hugging a pillow and scrolling on her phone. The atmosphere was quiet and cozy. As she kept scrolling, Jiang Xue suddenly let out a sigh. Her mood suddenly sank. She tossed her phone aside, hugged her knees, buried her face against them, and didn't move. I noticed something was wrong, stopped what I was doing, and gently patted her back. What's wrong? You were fine just now. Why are you suddenly upset? Did something happen at work? Or did someone make things hard for you? I kept my voice especially gentle, afraid of startling her. She shook her head. After a long while, she finally lifted it. Her eyes were red. Tears gathered in them. And when she looked at me, her voice caught. It turned out today was the anniversary of her father's passing. I thought back to her birthday before, when she had told me that her dad had passed away. All the family's money had gone into treatment, which was why she had come out to work, living in a cheap rental. I had never dared ask too much about her past, afraid of reopening the hurt. I reached out and pulled her into my arms, letting her rest against my shoulder while I gently patted her back, like comforting a child. Jiang Xue couldn't hold it in anymore. She broke down, crying in my arms. Her sobs were restrained, but filled with sorrow, releasing all the hurt and longing she'd kept buried for so long. I held her, feeling her body tremble, and my own heart ached along with hers, full of tenderness. This girl who looked cute, carefree, and light-hearted on the surface had actually been carrying so much inside. She had grown up in a comfortable family, loved and spoiled by both parents, and had never really known hardship. But then her father suddenly became seriously ill, and the family spent all their savings. In the end, he still left her. From a little princess who lacked for nothing, she became someone struggling on her own, out in the world. Anyone would have a hard time bearing that. After crying for a long while, Jiang Xue slowly calmed down. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts, and her nose was red. Still leaning in my arms, she softly began telling me about her past. Her dad used to run a small business. Their family had lived quite well. Growing up, she had almost everything she wanted. She had never really been wronged. Even when her grades weren't good, her dad never scolded her. He only said that her happiness mattered most. Her mother had left when she was very young. Her father had raised Jiang Xue on his own, indulging her in almost everything. 3 years ago, Jiang Xue's father was suddenly diagnosed with cancer, and it was already at a late stage. Jiang Xue had just started college then. When she heard the news, she went completely numb. To treat her father, the family sold their home and the business. Every bit of savings was used up. They borrowed from every relative and friend they could, but in the end, they still couldn't keep him with them. On the day her father passed, he held Jiang Xue's hand and told her to take good care of herself, not to wrong herself, to live happily, and to find someone who treated her well. He told her not to end up like him. Jiang Xue promised him, but she still couldn't stop missing her dad. Every time she saw someone else being loved by their father, it hurt her deeply. After graduating, Jiang Xue didn't want to stay in her hometown, surrounded by reminders, so she came to this city alone, found the cheapest place she could rent, and took whatever job could support her. She didn't dare contact relatives, afraid they'd ask whether she was doing all right, and afraid she wouldn't be able to hold back tears. Back when we lived in the old place, she always talked back to me and liked touching my things. In truth, she had just been too lonely. She wanted to feel present, wanted someone to talk to. Later, after we grew closer, I celebrated her birthday, stood up for her, and Jiang Xue finally felt that this city wasn't quite so cold after all. Having someone by her side felt wonderful. During the half-month we were apart, she slept poorly every day, ate poorly too, and always felt hollow. No matter where she stayed, it never felt like home. Only when she was with me did she feel at peace. She said a great deal in one breath, telling me all the feelings she'd hidden deep inside for so long, every last bit of them. I held her, my heart aching for her. I wished I could give her every bit of tenderness I had. She looked carefree on the outside, but inside she was sensitive and starved for love. All her little tempers and impulsive moments were just armor she used to protect herself. Deep down, she was still a little girl who needed to be cherished. I held her tightly, my voice low and serious, telling her that from now on, things would be different. I would stay by her side. She would never be alone again. I would look after Jiang Xue in her father's place, never let her be wronged, never let her feel lonely, no matter what happened. I would be there beside her. Jiang Xue looked up at me. Tears still clung to her cheeks, and her eyes were full of emotion and dependence. Chen Mo, do you really mean that? You won't leave me behind, right? I mean it. I promise I will never leave you behind. From now on, I'll spend every birthday with you. If someone wrongs you, I'll stand up for you. If you're lonely, I'll stay with you. Let's always be together. All right, Jiang Xue nodded hard. She threw herself into my arms, hugged me tightly, buried her face against my chest, and whispered, "MM. Always together." In that moment, two lonely hearts leaned close at last. With no distance left between them, the affection we'd hidden in our hearts, the feelings we hadn't been able to name, finally found a place to belong. We both understood that we had already become an irreplaceable part of each other's lives. That night, I cooked a whole table of her favorite dishes, opened a bottle of juice, and stayed with her as she remembered her father. I told her that every year on this day, I would be with her. Whenever she missed her dad, she could tell me. I would always listen. Jiang Xue smiled and nodded. The sadness in her eyes had faded a lot, replaced by more tenderness and peace. She knew that from this moment on, she was no longer a girl, drifting alone through life. She had someone to lean on. She had a home, and I was in that home. Life went on steadily. In the blink of an eye, winter arrived. The weather grew colder and colder, but with the heater on, the apartment stayed wonderfully warm. Our relationship had long since changed from roommates into two people deeply dependent on each other. We had never made an official confession, yet we stayed beside one another with unspoken understanding, doing the kinds of things only lovers would do. But life is never smooth all the way through. Little storms always appear from time to time, testing what people feel for each other. Fortunately, we always stood on the same side, supporting one another and facing things together. The leader at Jiang Xue's new company was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a sleazy way about him. He had already been crossing lines with Jiang Xue before, always using work as an excuse to call her into his office alone. Sometimes he made her stay late. Other times he asked her to handle personal errands for him. Jiang Xue had kept enduring it without telling me, afraid I would worry and afraid I might act too impulsively. Until one night, Jiang Xue worked overtime until after 10 and dragged herself home exhausted. Her face clearly showed how wronged she felt. Her eyes were red. The moment she walked in, she threw herself into my arms and couldn't hold back her tears. My heart tightened. I quickly held her and asked what had happened, whether something was wrong. After crying for a long while, Jiang Xue finally told me that her manager had called her into the office again that day and tried to take advantage of her. She resisted with everything she had and managed to get away. Then he threatened that if she dared tell anyone, he would fire her. The moment I heard that, anger rushed straight through me. I was shaking with rage. I wanted to march straight to her company and make that disgusting manager answer for it. Anyone who mistreated someone I cared about was not getting a free pass. Don't act impulsively. Don't go confront him head on. He's a company leader. We can't afford to offend someone like that. Worst case, I'll just quit. I can look for another job. Jiang Xue was afraid I'd get into trouble, so she quickly held my hand and urged me not to escalate it. Why should you quit when you did? Absolutely nothing wrong. Why should you bear the consequences? If he wronged you, he should be held accountable. I'm handling this. My tone was firm. After calming Jiang Xue down, I told her to rest properly at home, not to overthink it, and leave the rest to me. I didn't rush off to her company and cause a scene. Instead, I gathered evidence first. I asked Jiang Xue to organize the chat messages where her manager behaved inappropriately toward her, the call records, and anything co-workers had witnessed before, putting it all together. I also spoke with a few co-workers who were close to Jiang Xue to understand the full situation. To my surprise, that manager hadn't targeted only Jiang Xue. He had also acted inappropriately towards several other female employees at the company. They had all been afraid of losing their jobs, so they were furious but didn't dare speak up. After doing self-media for so long, I knew quite a few friends in media, and among content creators, there were plenty of ways to deal with a creep like that in the workplace. I had options. First, I sent the organized evidence anonymously to the company's headquarters oversight department. Then I contacted several local lifestyle bloggers and subtly brought the matter to public attention, reminding women in the workplace to stay alert. At the same time, I asked a lawyer friend about the relevant legal issues and preserved the right to file a case if needed. 2 days later, headquarters sent people down to investigate. That sleazy manager still tried to argue, but the evidence was already solid, and other female employees stepped forward to confirm what happened. He had no way to deny it. To protect its reputation, the company fired him immediately, issued a public apology, and apologized to every affected female employee. It also promised to strengthen internal management and prevent anything like this from happening again. When Jiang Xue heard the news, "Chen Mo, you're amazing. You solved it so quickly. I thought it would drag on for ages. HMPH. Of course, look whose girlfriend you are." Anyone who dares mistreat you will have to answer for it. The words slipped out of my mouth only after saying them. Did I realize I'd used the word girlfriend? I instantly felt a little embarrassed, and the tips of my ears warmed. Jiang Xue froze for a moment too. Then a sweet smile spread across her face. She rose onto her toes and kissed my cheek, whispering, "Yes, I am your girlfriend. So from now on, you have to keep protecting me." My heart melted. I pulled her into my arms, lowered my head, and kissed her. That kiss was gentle and full of feeling, carrying all the affection and companionship between us. It wasn't dramatic or grand, but it was unforgettable. From that day on, we officially became a couple. No longer a vague, unspoken closeness, but openly acknowledged lovers. The apartment we shared truly became our little home, filled with sweetness and warmth. Not long after, I ran into a small problem on my side too. My supernatural self-media account was maliciously reported by a competitor who claimed my content promoted superstition. Several of my videos were taken down for violating platform rules, and the account's reach was limited. My income dropped sharply. I felt pretty low, spending whole days shut in the study, not wanting to talk. Jiang Xue saw it all and kept it in her heart. She didn't say much. She simply kept finding new ways to make good food for me every day, stayed by my side, and encouraged me. She even started studying self-media platform rules, helping me organize content, revise copy, stay up late with me, and think through solutions together. Jiang Xue sat beside me, holding my hand. Don't lose heart. Your content is genuinely good. You were just deliberately targeted. We'll adjust it little by little. Once we rebuild, it'll definitely keep getting better. Her eyes were firm as she encouraged me. With her beside me and cheering me on, I slowly got my mindset back, optimized the content again, avoided sensitive areas, and made better videos and writing. Jiang Xue also helped me brainstorm, offering lots of fresh ideas. Her imagination was playful and clever, which happened to suit my supernatural account perfectly. Unexpectedly, after the adjustments, the account's traffic gradually recovered and even became better than before. My follower count grew faster, and the income rose quite a bit too. I hugged Jiang Xue, filled with gratitude. I truly owed so much to her. Without her, I would probably still be stuck, feeling down. She was my lucky star. Jiang Xue was delighted to hear that, and said that as my girlfriend, of course she had to help me. From now on, we'd work hard together and make life better and better. Jiang Xue leaned in my arms, smiling sweetly. It turned out the best kind of love was never one person's one-sided sacrifice, but walking beside each other, supporting each other, having someone face hardship with you. Someone who reaches for you when you fall into a low point, weathering storms together and never letting go. Winter snow arrived quietly. The city welcomed its first snowfall. Snowflakes filled the sky, turning everything white and bright, especially beautiful. It was the weekend. Heavy snow fell outside, while the apartment was warm with heat. I had spent a long time preparing in advance, planning to give Jiang Xue a proper confession, and a moment with some ceremony to it. Although we had already confirmed our relationship, I had never formally confessed to her. I always felt I owed her that moment. This girl had stayed with me in a rented apartment, never enjoying much luxury and enduring plenty of hardship. I wanted to give her enough security to know that I truly wanted to spend my life with her. I decorated the place ahead of time. I didn't buy expensive flowers or candles. I simply used the little string lights she liked to decorate the living room and balcony. Then I cooked a whole table of her favorite dishes, bought a small cake, and prepared a simple silver ring. It wasn't expensive, but I had saved up for a long time to buy it. It represented my sincerity. When Jiang Xue woke up that morning and stepped out of the bedroom, she saw the warmly decorated, romantic living room, along with the table full of food, and froze at once. She looked at me with surprise and delight, asking what day it was and why everything looked like this. I took her hand guided her to sit beside the dining table, and looked at her with serious, heartfelt eyes. Then I said, word by word, "Today isn't any special occasion. I just want to confess to you properly. I want to give this feeling a real moment. I want to tell you what you mean to me. We started as bickering roommates, always annoyed with each other, then slowly became familiar, stood by one another, and now our hearts understand each other. I never imagined that one person could make my life feel this warm and this meaningful. Before, I thought life only needed to be passable. Food to eat, a place to live, and that was enough. But after meeting you, I finally learned what home means, and what it means to truly care about someone. I don't have much money, and I'm not someone extraordinary. I'm just an ordinary self-media creator. I can't promise you a life of wealth and luxury, but I can promise that every day from now on, I will cherish you, love you well, never let you feel wronged, and never let you feel alone. I'll cook your 3 meals a day and stay with you for a lifetime. Jiang Xue, I like you. Not on a whim, but after truly thinking it through. Are you willing to be my girlfriend, to stay with me for the rest of our lives, and marry me? I took out that simple silver ring, knelt on one knee, and looked up at her, nervous and full of hope. Jiang Xue stood where she was. Tears immediately fell from her eyes. They were tears of being moved, tears of happiness. She nodded hard, her voice choked with emotion. Yes. I've wanted to say yes for a long time. I stood up and slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. From now on, you're stuck with me. You won't be getting rid of me for life. Jiang Xue hugged me and cried messily, yet smiled with overwhelming happiness, looking at the ring on her hand. She smiled and said it was the best gift she'd ever received. Prettier than any gold or jewels. That day we stood by the window, watching snow fill the sky outside, eating the meal together and talking about the future, our hearts filled with warmth. There were no grand, ornate words. There were no expensive gifts. Yet this simple happiness was more precious than anything else. The snow fell all day. By evening, it had stopped. Outside, everything was white. Moonlight spilled across the snow, making it look especially beautiful. I took Jiang Xue's hand and went downstairs for a walk. Our feet stepped into the thick snow, crunching softly with every step. Hand in hand, we walked slowly forward, chatting, laughing, and letting each other's warmth drive away the winter cold. Jiang Xue pointed at the moon in the sky and happily said how round it looked. But even the fullest moon wasn't as beautiful as she was. I lowered my head and kissed her forehead, my heart full of love for her. In that moment, I suddenly felt that the greatest happiness in life is finding the right person. Among the endless sea of people, after all the twists and turns, it was still you. For the rest of my life, it would all be you. After officially confirming our relationship and making that promise, our days remained plain and warm. But now they carried more certainty and peace. It was no longer a drifting roommate life. It was two people choosing to stay by each other's side. Jiang Xue still went to work every day. When she came home, hot food would be waiting. I kept working on self-media content, and my career slowly settled onto the right track. My income became more and more stable. We saved money together and planned for the future. We hoped that after another year, we could make a down payment on a small place of our own, truly having a home that belonged to us. Little frictions in daily life still existed. For example, I still teased her for being forgetful and scatterbrained. She still complained that my mouth was too sharp and I wasn't romantic enough. But we both understood that this was simply how we got along. We bickered and fussed, yet never stayed truly angry. If anything, our feelings only grew stronger. During Lunar New Year, I went back to Jiang Xue's hometown with her to pay respects to her father, standing before his gravestone. I solemnly told him that I would take good care of Jiang Xue, treat her well for the rest of my life, and let him rest easy. Jiang Xue stood beside me, holding my hand, her eyes full of gratitude and calm. After the holiday, we returned to the rental apartment and began another year of striving. I worked even harder on my content. The account grew bigger and bigger. I accepted a few suitable sponsorships, and my income multiplied several times over. Our savings kept growing. Jiang Xue also changed to a better job, one that was easier and more stable, with much better pay. She no longer had to feel wronged. Every day, she was cheerful and happy. We still lived in that two-bedroom rental apartment, but it had long since become our little home. Every corner was filled with our memories, filled with the warmth of everyday life. We woke up together in the morning. I made breakfast. She tidied the place. At night, we came home together after work, cooked together, watched TV together, and chatted about the funny things that happened that day. On weekends, we stayed home together, or went out for a walk, or watched a movie. Simple but happy. Sometimes we would think back to our days in the old apartment, to that broken door that couldn't be locked, to the frightening accident with the water heater, to her absent-mindedly throwing away my USB drive, to the awkwardness of me being taken to the hospital, to all those noisy, bickering moments. And we couldn't help smiling at each other. If I hadn't agreed to share a place with you back then, if the landlord hadn't sold the apartment later, if I hadn't shamelessly come looking for you again, would we have missed each other? No. Even if we missed each other for a little while, we wouldn't miss each other for a lifetime. People who are meant to be together, no matter how many detours they take, will eventually find their way to one another. After all the twists and turns, I would still meet you. I would still fall in love with you. It was meant to be. Yes, fate really is that mysterious. From disliking and resisting each other at first, to slowly being moved by one another, and finally choosing a lifetime together. What looked like coincidence was really inevitability. Two lonely people in an unfamiliar city met because they shared a rental, fell in love because they stayed beside each other, and turned life's messy little details into something warm and poetic. In the blink of an eye, spring came again. Flowers bloomed outside the window. Everything returned to life, full of energy. We had saved enough for a down payment and found a small two-bedroom place we liked. The layout was practical. The natural light was excellent. It wasn't far from Jiang Xue's company, and it was convenient for me to work from home. On the day we signed the contract, we stood hand in hand, looking at the home that was finally ours, our eyes full of excitement and hope. Jiang Xue hugged me and said happily, "We finally have our own home. We don't have to rent anymore. We don't have to move anymore. From now on, this is our home for life." I smiled as I spoke, my heart full of comfort and pride. From that worn-down little rental to a home that finally belonged to us. We had worked hard together, struggled forward together, and finally found a steady place to belong. When we moved, we didn't ask many people for help. Just the two of us slowly packed everything up, carefully carrying every object tied to a memory into our new home. The USB drive that had been lost and found again, I placed in the most visible spot on my desk. It was proof of how we met. The portable hard drive she had once kept for me was still there too, filled with our memories and my inspiration. The new home was decorated warmly, arranged in the style we both liked. For our first meal after moving in, we cooked a whole table of dishes, opened a bottle of red wine, and celebrated our new life. Jiang Xue sat across from me. "Chen Mo. Thank you. Thank you for always staying by my side, and for giving me a home. I'm the one who should say thank you. Thank you for appearing in my life, for warming my years, and for making me feel lonely no longer." I raised my glass and clinked it with hers. "For the rest of my life, you are the snowstorms. You are the ordinary days. You are the lean years. You are the bright prosperity. You are the tenderness in my heart. And everywhere my eyes come to rest, it is you."